Hello, I am Serious Scout King and welcome to this pathing tutorial. Now, a lot of people have a very hard time with creating good path in their park. That's because the tool itself is not the most intuitive. As soon as you go into complex stuff, it's hard to understand. But once you understand it, it's actually very easy and you can do some perfect, beautiful stuff, anything that you want. So first thing first, you have the width and the length. The width, I strongly suggest 8 meters for your main path. It leaves you enough room for benches and garbage, and your guests will still have enough room to walk through it. If you have a very popular attraction or picnic benches, something that will take more space, perhaps entertainers that works in that area, you might want to go up to 10 meters instead of 8. So, let's start building path. Um, as you, I mean, the first thing would be angle snap. I have angle snap on, and that helps me putting straight lines. Then you can, do a hard turn, something like this. If you want a smooth turn, you can make it longer, and that will make you a smooth turn, but there's still a bit of rough edges because of the angle snap. So if you disable the angle snap instead, you can make it more precise, smoother. There's always gonna be a bit of rough edges. That's part of the game, but it's still, it's more roundish here. Um, in the end, that's really up to you. It doesn't matter. That's just, basic tools. Obviously, choose your color wisely. Then next, you would have the grid. So as you start in the park, usually what you're gonna have is, well, an entrance right here. And if you want to make it perfectly straight, you can just, whoops, there we go. For some reason I couldn't mouse over. You can just select the grid and then you start building like this. Now this grid is a 4-meter grid because this is 4-meter wide. So right now I'm building an 8-meter path. I can go wider, go 12-meter path. Can go wider, there's no limit to this. You can make a giant square, a giant rectangle. Your guests will use it as long as, of course, there's something to go to. Guests do not go in an area where there is nothing, such as this or this. There's nothing here. The guests are staying in this area where there are rides and stalls, stuff like that. But yeah, so with that, you can do an infinite number of paths, but you're not limited to a 4-meter grid. You can definitely do 8-meter grid, for example. So what you want to do is start with the 2 first pieces. This way you have your orientation as well as your size, and then you can turn that into a very wide, very quickly grid. This would be a 8-meter grid. There is really no limit to what size of the grid. You can also have square edges or round edges like this. Make it pretty, make it the way you want it. If you want more details, you have also here. Let me delete all this. There we go. For more details, you can also have, the curb on the ground. You can remove that. Now you have this sort of, it can blend easily into your surroundings this way. You have also railings that you can put on the ground itself. As you can see, it's independent of the curb itself. So there's a lot of customization options. It's all about visuals in this case. Same thing for on elevated, things like that. You have your path support if you're elevated. All of this, it's all in this second tab right there. I'm gonna take back my curb. There you go. And remove this. Okay. So, talking about elevation, how do you make elevation? Well, obviously, you don't need to have one path down. You could also just shift to place it in the air if you want to start in the air. But yeah, if you're already on the ground, you want to go up, there are two ways. You can click and hold. While holding, you are creating a bridge. There we go. But you can also use, there's the keyboard shortcuts. There's U for up and J for down, because J is right under U on the keyboard. That's why. Another thing you might have noticed is the curved slope here. So you can do curved stairs like this. Doesn't have to be stairs, of course. You can just have your little sort of elevation like this. There we go. So that allows you to do some very freaky stuff. If you want to have... So there's only two default elevations. There's your slight elevation. There we go, like this. And then there's the stairs. But you can actually have something else in between. A good trick is you place your second path here, and then you want to connect them by having a longer... There we go. And then this way you can play with elevation, be more precise. It can also give some weird results like this. So play with caution, I guess. It's yeah. Removing angle snap does help with this to be more precise. But yeah, you can play around elevations with that. It's, you know, not necessary. It's really up to you. Now, what about elevation on terrain? That's a big thing. So if you go with terraforming, which I do in every single one of my parks, you'll end up with a bunch of mountains at some point, weird stuff, and building on this will result in these weird path like this, sort of unsmooth sometimes. And of course, when you try to build a bench or a garbage or anything, you know, your path extras, even the garbage, they need to be on flat surface. So garbage would work here. Oh, it doesn't work all the way here because that path is, well, pretty messed up. You really need, it needs to be flat for your path extra. So hold on, I just forgot a little something here. I'm not gonna mess up again. Okay. I'm good. I'm good. Alright. So, something that you can use is flatten terrain. But flatten terrain has its limits, and it doesn't always work the way you want it, as you can tell. Flatten terrain will make it flat. Always. but it will destroy your scenery. Something that you can do with that though is manually go up, but there is a danger to this. As you can see, the moment that I went up here, it dug in the ground, and the moment that I went down, it made it same thing. I mean, it dug. We can really see it on this side. So flattened terrain, what it does is it decides this is your limit between this block path and this block, right? This is your limit in between. Everything here will be over the ground. Everything here will be at ground level. That's what it does. So personally, I am really not a fan of this tool, and I strongly suggest you don't use it. Instead, you should just flatten your terrain yourself in advance and then build your path on it without any elevation. Just have your path follow the ground instead, sort of like this. Well, okay, this one is too uneven, but you know, there you go, sort of like this. But your terrain would be flat and even first. There is also another very useful tool, but same thing, it has issues: tunneling. So tunneling will obviously allow you to build tunnels very quickly, very easily. And that's great, except it does the same thing. See, at this point I was still on ground level and it digs under, just like this. So those are both very, very bad tools. It will mess up your terrain. The only moment when I recommend tunneling, for example, would be if I'm already up, like this. Then I want to go into the mountain, digging into the mountain. Whoops, yeah. Okay, one more. There we go. Like this. This is a moment when tunneling can be very useful. That's the only moment I recommend it. So don't forget to turn it off once you're done using it, otherwise it's gonna mess up your whole place. Yeah, instead, if you really want to do something very good looking, what you want to do is flatten to foundation. This is gonna make your ground flat. If you do flatten to surface, it's gonna make your walls flat, but it's not gonna make your ground flat. So flatten to foundation, then you can have your own tunnel in advance, something like that. So then you can build your path through it. You can also use this for, like I was saying, you know, a slope. What you can do is have a step such as this. Then you adjust this part a little bit, like this. I'm just gonna flatten it, okay, and smooth. There you go. And now, once I'm gonna build my path on this, well, okay, this is too angled. The angle is bad, so that's a bad example. Too steep. There you go. That's the word. English is my second language, so sometimes I forget words. Yeah, there you go. Well, actually, I could use this right here to help. Then smooth a little bit. So, you know, you do something like this. Then once you build your path on it, there we go. Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's a very bad example then. But after you're done with your pathing, you reach this point here. No, I said terrain. I misclicked there. You reach your point here and your flat point. And then you can start putting your path extras again. So in this case, I would be able to build a garbage here. This is inclined, so I can't, but I can do it again here. So this is the best way of doing it, except I didn't do it properly in the way I wanted to explain. But yeah, this is the way that I do it normally in my parks, and it actually works great. I'm just terrible at explaining it for some reason. Yeah, it's just a really bad example, that's all. That's all it is. So yeah, this changing size. Oh yes, okay. Now let's go into advanced stuff. You might want to have, you know, areas where it changes size for some reason. You know, it's your park, you do whatever you want. It's important to note that a size change, how can I explain this? If you want to retain your current path, you need to make it longer. Here, let me show what I mean. If I only have 2 pieces, right, and I want this transition to happen right now. I make the second block bigger. This piece is now transformed into my new width, and then my new piece is actually going to be the correct size. So what you want to do is have a second piece and then make it bigger. This way, you know, you make it longer to retain your size. And this is actually shown a lot on a grid. So let's use the path entrance, the park entrance here as an example. So I have a 8 meter wide path here, 8 meter wide path here. Let's say that this is not my park entrance that I want. I want... Is it... Hold on, it's loading. Let's say that I want 3 of them. But then I want my path here to be straight. You know, like if you start building something like this, even at 4 meter, it's gonna be a bit of a mess. It's not really great. So what you want to do here is build on a grid. The grid in this case would be kind of a big thing. There we go. It's kind of hard to click on it for the park entrance specifically. So there we go. Now I got my little grid. And here, let's can I repaint this maybe? Because I don't like the different colors. There we go. Yeah, the only thing is you actually need to click on the path itself and not on the entrance part. That's why sometimes I have a hard time selecting these. So let's say I have this, then I want to connect my path. It's kind of here, 8 meter. It's kind of hard to make it centered because it's trying to connect to the outside edges here. So even if I do this, see, it's trying to connect there. So that's not good. So here's what you want to do. You go back to the grid, you make it longer, just like I was explaining earlier. Make it longer to retain size. Well, same thing here. Make it longer. Now I deselect the grid, and now it is possible to place it in the middle. I'm gonna go more into detail on why that is later on, but yeah, there you go. Now you can do this, and you can delete the extra steps here. And there you go. I have my park entrance. It is now 3 block wide, and it is straight. So that, you know, building on a grid like this, it's kind of a big thing. That's how you should connect your grids all the time. You know, you make the entrance of your grid wider so you can connect your path straight in the middle, something like that. If your grid is wide enough, you don't need to, but yeah. So that's the way to connect, you know, complex grid into regular pathing or whatever. Solid pieces. Okay. So as you've seen here, once I deleted the edges, it made these sort of tilted, smoothed out pieces there. That's because in the game there are two kinds of path. There's a solid block, solid square, and then there's the connection between these squares. Every path is actually a square, and everything else is just a transition. Once I built... here, let's undo for a sec. So, once I built this here, this creates a position for a block. These behind it are no longer solid. The game cannot process having solid blocks of different size right next to each other. So if you delete these, well, like, there's no longer any solid block in between, so it's just gonna be transition in between. So for example, if I have there you go. If I have, let's say, 4 pieces of path, I'll put a stall next to that. Whoops, wrong section. Let's go into custom because I don't want this to be huge. Here, let's put the first aid. So I put a stall. Let's place another one. Why not? Not in the same building. I want a different angle here. Let's place a stall. Already you can tell that the path is messing up. If I start deleting path, see, it's no longer a solid piece. It's now just a connection between, there's a piece here and there's a piece right there. So now this is only just a connection. So a lot of times when building your path, you want to make sure your path is complete before you start building things around it. But it's not always mandatory to do that. Let's say, for example, I have this area, I want to make it a big area for, you know, people eating stuff. And now I like the way this looks. I would like to have a bunch of stalls around it. But if you place a stall, like I said, this is no longer gonna be a solid path. It's gonna be just a connection. Once again, the wrong area. Here, I might as well just use some food, at least. So, see, as you can see, it's already bending. You can see in advance that it is no longer a solid path. So, what you want to do, like I was saying earlier, is extend your path to keep the shape. So you extend. Now I place my shops. Let's say I want one like here. Whoops. One like here. I would like to have another one here. And then I want one in the middle. So at this point, I would delete this because this path here was only there because this is not solid anymore. So this was there to keep the shape. I delete it. This is already a pretty shape, and I can now add another one here. And there you go. I got the thing that I was looking for. Now let's say I want to push it further, keep the beautiful shape that I had, the round shape. You could do this in advance. So how can I explain this? We're going into like complex stuff here. Let's say, all right. Oh yeah, you know, I'm actually gonna need to use control here. So using control will allow your path to not stick to each other. It allows you to create a new path, basically, every time. So let's say I have these. Okay, now I'm gonna connect. At this point, I would need to create a longer one. That's not a good example here. I would actually, that could work. Let's say I do this. There is, of course, you know, there's a limit to this whole thing. You can still play around. Keep in mind what is a solid shape, what is not. But you know why this is not a good example? This is why. I'm gonna go into a more advanced thing here, which already has the shops. So at some point I did this for a community challenge, which, you know, it was a speed building. You had an hour and limited pieces to build this. I decided, hold on, I want a better orientation. It looks bad. I don't like it because of the sun reflection. That's better. So at some point I built this as part of a challenge. Like I was saying, you had limited pieces and 1 hour to build this whole thing. Stalls were not mandatory, it was just my own choice. The stalls, you could build whatever you want, so it's all good. And then someone mentioned in the when they were reviewing everything, they made a video, and someone mentioned the pathing would be hell. Not really. Not really. I disagree with that. So here, this is an actual working example that you can use, right? So if you try to start from here, well, as you can see, it's a bit of a mess. But if you hold Control, it won't stick to anything. So you can now start right here, so that this is placed properly. Oh yeah, that's another thing. So as you're building, anytime that you're near an end of whatever you're building, it's gonna try to snap to it. That's because the game thinks you're building a linear path and it keeps going this way. What you want to do if you don't want to continue this way, you have your cursor over nothing and you right click. You are no longer building this path, so you're no longer like really stuck to it, like from far away. You'll still get stuck to it if you're close, but that's okay. If you don't want that, then you need to hold Control. Control will allow you to not stick to anything. So what you want here is to hold Control. I was building the wrong way here. Hold on. Let's just delete this one. You need to build in. All right, so for my thing to work. So you need to start building, and then, oh no, it's snapping to the buildings, right? You're already building this path, so the game will still try to make you continue this path. And if you're holding Control, you're not gonna stick to the stalls. So then you can build right here. At this point, I would actually want a 10-meter wide path. Like this, hold on. I messed up. Okay. So it would be 8 meter here. There we go. Then I want a 10 meter here, holding Control. Then what I'm gonna want to do here is split the path into two smaller paths. But like I said, you know, solid piece and just filling. So I'm gonna build in advance through it. Here I want to go back to 8 meter. I'm still holding control, by the way. There we go. So now I'm gonna have my 4 meter piece. I'm gonna tell the game that I'm no longer building this path, so I'm gonna right click here and hold control to place a new little path. I want this to be right here, and I'm gonna do this. Stack into here. That's pretty good, right? You know what? I'm just gonna do this again from here instead. Like this. Okay, yeah, I like this better. Same thing on this side. There you go. Then I'm gonna do it again here. There we go. Snapping. Kind of like, yeah, I kind of like this. There we go. And then you delete the middle part. Oops, I messed it up. So in this particular case, I connected here too soon. I'm just gonna redo this. Yeah, there we go. You can also just start like this. Then do this. Of course. Yeah, I like this. Okay, and now if I delete the middle path, there you go. The path is no longer going around this. I made it a bit squarish, but last time that I did this, it was actually more round. You know, you do whatever the way you want. And then all you would need to do at this point would be connecting the stalls. So like this. There's another one here. If you can't connect, you'll want to place the opening and then connect. There we go. Whoops. Misclick. And lastly, the bathroom. So, you know, holding control allows you to build very, very close to things such as stalls, to connect your things and everything. Very, very useful. And yeah, continuing the path or making a new one, that's right click. Very, very useful. One last thing that I want to show you is the red tapes. Well, I mean, the barriers. So you see, guests are... Why are you saying hi? Oh, because they bugged out. That's why. Because I played a lot with pathing and now they bugged out. Oh no, wait. Because I forgot to finish this. That's why. They're stuck in the park. That's a very good reason to saying hi. There we go. They're no longer stuck in the park. They're gonna... There you go. Alright, okay. Alright, using ropes. Well, I mean... So if you go in barriers... you go in scenery, props, and then fences. You have your barriers here and your curb. The developers... Thanks to this guest to puking right in front of the camera, that was beautiful. The developers decided that these two in particular would have collision for the guests. If you place anything else, guests will walk right through it. They're only visual. But if you take these, guests have to go around them. Now, use them with caution because they can make the AI bug out. In the end, you know, they can still pass through and everything. But yeah, there's nothing stopping you from hiding it under the ground, for example, or inside a wall. And you can use the same thing with the curbs. The curb does the same job. Also, keep in mind that the curb can be colored, whatever when you want. So there is potential for decoration with that. But yeah, those two tools very useful if you want to micromanage your population. Let's say you have a little corner that's bugging out, people are passing through something. You can use these to prevent people from passing through. So I believe that's everything. I hope this can help you out. As you can tell, I mean, it's still, a bit complicated if you want to do something very, very precise, but knowing how it works still makes it so much easier, to do your things such as this, for example, just because these are not actual solid path, they're just connection in between. And so yeah, hope to see you again in the next tutorial video, which I have no idea what it's gonna be yet. But yeah, see you next time.